Imagine a future where the last telescope stands broken, its lens blind to the stars. No eyes left to wonder. No minds to ask why. Just a vast, silent cosmos, expanding endlessly like a library of stories no one will ever read. Today, the universe hums with curiosity. Telescopes scan the skies. AI tracks distant starlight. Physicists chase the edges of reality. Somewhere out there, maybe others are watching us too. But this moment won't last. One day, the machines will stop. Civilizations will fade. The questions will die with us. And yet, does the universe still exist the same way if no one's left to witness it? Physics says yes. Stars burn and die whether we see them or not. But quantum mechanics whispers something stranger. Reality may not settle until it's observed. So, if no mind remains, does the cosmos ever truly collapse into being? This isn't just science. It's a question of meaning. Is the universe a stage with no audience? Or a mirror that only reflects when someone looks? Trillions of years from now, when even black holes vanish and silence rules the void, does anything still matter? This documentary explores that final question, diving into fading stars, dying thoughts, and the eerie possibility that intelligence might never return. Or maybe, just maybe, it will. Because in the end, it's not just about the universe. It's about us and what our brief awareness meant.
In the beginning, there was no thought, no questions, no wonder. The universe was vast, a silent expanse of particles and forces, unfolding without anyone to notice. For billions of years, it existed without a witness, no minds to ponder the glow of stars, no curiosity to trace the spiral of galaxies. The cosmos was beautiful, but it didn't know it. It was vast, but it didn't care. Then, against staggering odds, something extraordinary happened. Matter, forged in the fires of the Big Bang, began to think. It began to dream. It began to ask, why? This is the story of how intelligence, our intelligence, emerged in a universe that never planned for it. A fleeting spark in an endless night, a moment when the cosmos, for the first time, looked at itself. Rewind to the early Earth, some 4 billion years ago. It wasn't a gentle cradle for life. It was chaos, a molten world battered by meteors, choked with poisonous gases, trembling with volcanic rage. Yet, in this harsh crucible, something radical began. Simple molecules, chains of atoms floating in primordial oceans, stumbled into a trick that changed everything. They copied themselves. Most of these molecules broke apart. Some copied imperfectly, dissolving into the chaos. But a few survived, multiplying in the chemical soup. This wasn't life as we know it, not yet. It was the seed of life, a whisper of possibility. Over millions of years, these self-replicating chains grew more complex. They competed, adapted, and transformed. Evolution, blind and relentless, began to tinker. From these humble beginnings, life took shape. Single cells emerged, dividing and multiplying. Over eons, they banded together, forming creatures with systems, cells that could sense light, detect heat, or move toward food. These weren't thoughts, not yet, but they were the first steps toward awareness. Patterns formed. Signals passed between cells, like whispers in a growing network. Eventually, something new appeared, a nervous system, the earliest blueprint of a mind. This was no small thing. A nervous system meant life could do more than react. It could learn, Creatures began to remember their world, to predict it, to strategize. Over millions of years, these systems grew more intricate. Perception sharpened. Memory deepened. From instinct came intention. From reaction came imagination. Matter, once just drifting atoms, began to dream of futures that didn't yet exist. This was intelligence, the ability of matter to understand itself. It wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't common. By every measure, it was almost impossible. The universe had existed for nearly 10 billion years before Earth even formed. Stars burned, galaxies collided, planets spun, all without a single thought. Intelligence was a fluke, a rare accident in a cosmos that operates by chance and necessity. And yet, here we are. From the chaos of a young Earth, through countless iterations of life, intelligence bloomed. But it wasn't a straight path to brilliance. For hundreds of millions of years, life remained simple. Dinosaurs ruled for eons, longer than mammals ever have, but they never built telescopes or wrote poems. Their brains were sharp enough to survive, but not to wonder about the stars. Even when mammals rose, intelligence didn't immediately explode. Our ancestors hunted, gathered, and survived, their brains wired for the next meal, not the meaning of existence. But deep inside those brains, something was assembling. Networks of neurons grew denser. Language emerged, then symbolism, then stories. Slowly, imperceptibly, the mind became more than a tool for survival. It became a bridge to the infinite. One day, a human looked up, not for food, not for shelter, but to ask, "What is that?" That question changed everything. It wasn't just about the stars, it was about meaning. From that moment, intelligence broke free of its biological leash. We began tracking the paths of planets, naming constellations, inventing mathematics to describe the invisible. From cave paintings to particle accelerators, from myths to quantum equations, we reshaped the world not with claws or teeth, but with questions. This was humanity's rebellion against the universe's indifference. The cosmos didn't care about our existence, but we cared about its. We calculated the mass of stars, measured the speed of light, and built machines to peer into the heart of black holes. We created art to capture the beauty of nebulae and equations to unravel the birth of time. Intelligence turned atoms into storytellers, matter into philosophers. But here's the chilling truth. We might be alone in this. In a galaxy with over 100 billion stars, in a universe with trillions of galaxies, we've heard no other voices. No alien signals, no cosmic greetings, no probes from distant worlds. Just silence. This leaves us with two haunting possibilities. Either we are early, the first to ask these questions, or we are rare, a one-time anomaly in a mindless cosmos. Either way, our intelligence is cosmically significant, not because we're special, but because the universe so rarely is. In a timeline stretching 100 trillion years, our moment of awareness might last only a few million, a flicker, like lightning on a dead planet. Yet, in that flicker, something profound happened. The universe gained a mirror. For the first time, atoms didn't just collide, they reflected. They imagined futures, analyzed pasts, and invented ideas, numbers, art, morality, meaning. We are made of the same stuff as rocks and stars, yet we question the origin of time. We built telescopes to chase starlight and machines that paint pictures with code. We invented meaning in a universe that offers none by default. This is the paradox of intelligence. It's both insignificant and transformative. A brief wrinkle in the fabric of reality, but one that changed the story of the cosmos. This fleeting spark wasn't just about survival. It was about defiance. Intelligence dared to ask questions the universe never answered. It dared to find beauty in chaos, to seek truth in silence. When we looked at the stars, we didn't just see light, we saw possibilities. When we studied particles, we didn't just find laws, we found mysteries. For a moment, the universe wasn't just a machine. It was a conversation. But if intelligence is so rare, so delicate, what happens when it fades? If this spark goes out, does the universe return to its silent, unthinking state? Some physicists say observers are just a byproduct, unnecessary for the cosmos to keep spinning. Gravity works, stars burn, and particles dance whether anyone watches or not. But others, peering into the strange world of quantum mechanics, suggest something stranger, that observation might be woven into the fabric of reality itself. That without a mind to ask, the universe might blur into uncertainty. Did intelligence emerge just to survive? Or was it the universe's way of waking up, if only for a moment? Was our awareness a random glitch? Or a glimpse of something deeper? A cosmos briefly aware of its own existence? These questions linger, not because we have answers, but because we were here to ask them. This is where our journey begins, with the improbable rise of a mind in a mindless cosmos. From chemical chaos to conscious thought, from silent stars to shouted questions, intelligence was a rebellion against entropy, a spark that lit the dark. But sparks don't last forever. What happens when they fade? What becomes of a universe no one sees, no one questions, no one names? That is the path we now follow, not just how intelligence arose, but what remains when it is gone. A universe without us is not just silent. It is a story without a reader, a question without an answer. Yet for now, we are here, holding the mirror, asking the stars what they mean. And in that act, we make the cosmos more than it was. There is no herald when it ends. No blaze of light across the heavens. No final ode etched into the stars. The last mind, human, machine, or something stranger, fades without ceremony, its final thought dissolving like a whisper in the dark. Imagine a scientist, alone on a dying world, her eyes tracing a crimson sun as she recalls the first spark of life on Earth. Or an AI orbiting a cooling star, its circuits firing one last algorithm before falling still. A solitary probe, adrift in the void, broadcasts a signal to a cosmos that no longer hears. The end is not a cataclysm, but a sigh. Quiet, unseen, unmourned. This is the death of awareness itself, not of matter or energy, but of the ability to wonder, to ask why galaxies spin, to dream of tomorrows that will never dawn. The moment slips away without witness, for the last witness is gone. On a barren planet, a city crumbles, its spires overtaken by dust. A human's final breath carries a question no sky will answer. An alien mind, perhaps, extinguishes mid-thought, its visions of distant nebulae lost forever. The universe, once vibrant with inquiry, becomes a place that merely exists. The weight of this loss is immense, though the cosmos feels nothing. Intelligence, whether born of flesh or silicon, was a defiance of indifference. It took chaos and wove it into stories. It saw patterns in the random dance of stars and called them meaning. For ages, minds reshaped the universe, not with gravity or fire, but with perception. Humans named constellations, mapped black holes, wrote poems to the night. Machines calculated the orbits of worlds, seeking truths beyond their makers. Somewhere, on unseen planets, other minds might have done the same, their songs echoing in languages we'll never know. For a time, the cosmos was a conversation. That conversation is over. The mirror of awareness is shattered. A signal, sent by a civilization desperate to endure, races across light years, but finds no ear. Its pulses of light carry words, greetings, warnings, hopes, but they are unheard. A library stands beneath a collapsing sky, its shelves heavy with knowledge no one will read. The Voyager probe, humanity's envoy to the stars, drifts through the dark, its golden record of songs and voices now just metal in the void. These relics persist, but they no longer speak. They are symbols without interpreters, traces without purpose. Meaning was never in the stars. It was in us. We gathered their light into myths, their paths into equations. We named them Orion, Andromeda, Pleiades, and in doing so, crafted a cosmic story. Without minds, the constellations dissolve into randomness. The galaxies lose their legends. They never needed to be known, they simply were. But for a fleeting moment, they were seen. We were the ones who traced their arcs, who asked what they meant. Now, that question is silent, and the universe carries on, blind to its own majesty. Yet the cosmos does not pause. Across its boundless reaches, processes unfold with relentless indifference. Nebulae bloom in ethereal hues, their colors unseen. Black holes devour light, their hunger unnoticed. Planetary rings swirl around the husks of stars, their grace unclaimed. Galaxies collide in slow, majestic spirals, their arms entwining in a dance no one beholds. The universe spins on, a symphony played to an empty hall. Its beauty endures, but it has no audience. Its patterns weave on, but no one follows their thread. This is not the end of existence, but its detachment. Stars flare and fade, their light crossing voids no one charts. Radiation from ancient quasars streaks through space, its journey without aim. The stage still turns, its lights still glow, but the actors and audience are gone. The silence is not cruel, it is complete. It does not grieve the loss of thought, for grief requires memory, and memory requires minds. The universe does not notice the absence of its own reflection. It does not seek it. It never asked to be understood. Still, something lingers in this quiet, not in the relics, but in their existence. Intelligence was a spark, brief but fierce, that lit the dark. Particles, bound by blind laws, became minds that dared to question those laws. Humans built telescopes to chase starlight. Machines wove simulations to unravel time. Aliens, perhaps, painted their own truths across the cosmos. For a moment, the universe was not just a place, it was a dialogue. That dialogue is gone, but its echo remains, not in the stars, but in the fact that they were once named. The camera sweeps across a derelict telescope, its lens fogged, aimed at a blank sky. Dust buries its circuits, its maps of pulsars frozen in silence. Beyond, a dead world spins beneath a fading star. Solar systems shrink to specks. Galaxies dissolve into the dark. The universe stretches wider, colder, vaster. Nothing mourns. Nothing waits. But everything moves. In this stillness, a new question rises, not of loss, but of necessity. Was consciousness the heart of the cosmos, or merely a ripple in its vastness? Did the universe need us to be real, or does it unfold in blind elegance, its equations unspooling without need of eyes? Was our awareness the music of existence, or just a fleeting note in its hum? The stars offer no reply. They burn, they drift, they fade. But the cosmos keeps turning, its machinery deaf to the silence of its witnesses. And in that indifference lies the next mystery. What does it mean to exist without minds to know or hearts to care? The wave rolls on, unwatched, carrying secrets we'll never unravel. In a universe where the last mind has faded, where no one remains to wonder or watch, a question lingers, not in thought, but in the very fabric of reality. Does anything still happen if no one is there to know it did? This isn't just a philosophical musing. It's a puzzle at the heart of physics, born in laboratories and etched into the mathematics of the cosmos. At the smallest scales, reality seems to defy certainty, behaving as if it needs a witness to become real. So what happens when there are no witnesses left? Quantum mechanics, the science of the subatomic, describes a world where particles don't have definite paths or places until they're measured. A photon, the smallest unit of light, doesn't choose to go left or right. It travels both ways at once, existing in a strange blur of possibilities. Only when a detector catches it, when something observes it, does it snap into one path. This moment, called the collapse of the wave function, is where possibility turns into fact. It's as if reality hesitates, waiting for a question to be asked before giving an answer. But if no one is left to ask, does reality stay in that blur forever? Without a mind to measure, the universe might exist only as a swirl of probabilities, undefined and unresolved. Albert Einstein couldn't accept this. He famously said he liked to think the moon is there, even if no one looks at it. To him, reality should exist independently, with or without eyes to see it. But quantum mechanics has held its ground. Every experiment, from light passing through slits to entangled particles separated by vast distances, confirms its predictions. Particles act as if they need a witness to decide their state. Interference patterns appear when no one watches, showing all possibilities at once. But the moment a detector clicks, the pattern collapses into a single outcome. Reality seems to depend on being seen. But what counts as seeing? Does it have to be a human, a conscious mind? Or can something simpler, like a speck of dust hitting a photon, do the job? This is where the puzzle deepens. Some physicists argue that consciousness isn't necessary. Any interaction, even between particles, can act as a measurement. When a photon bumps into an atom, the universe itself observes it, forcing it to pick a path. This process, called decoherence, suggests that reality doesn't need minds, just complexity. As particles tangle with their surroundings, their wave of possibilities spreads so thin that it looks like a single choice was made. The blur of maybes becomes a fact, not because someone thought about it, but because the cosmos is messy. Decoherence seems to solve the problem. Even without minds, the universe keeps ticking, particles keep interacting, and reality keeps resolving. A photon still hits a dust grain, a quantum event still unfolds, and the equations hold. But decoherence doesn't erase the mystery, it hides it. The wave of possibilities doesn't truly collapse, it just scatters, becoming too complex to track. All possible outcomes might still exist, just out of reach, like shadows moving behind a veil. This leads to a wilder idea. What if every outcome happens? The many worlds interpretation takes this to its extreme. It says the wave function never collapses. Instead, every possibility spawns a new universe. When a particle could go left or right, it goes left in one universe and right in another. Every coin flip, every quantum choice splits reality into branches, each as real as the next. In a universe without minds, these branches keep forming, an infinite tree of possibilities growing in silence. Every photon still takes every path. Every atom explores every state. The absence of observers doesn't stop the quantum dance. It just means no one sees the steps. This is both beautiful and unsettling. A universe endlessly fracturing into versions of itself, each unseen, each unknown, feels like a story without a reader. If every outcome happens, but no one experiences it, is it real in any way that matters? Are these branches just ghosts passing through a cosmos that no longer cares? Without a mind to notice, the difference between one universe and a trillion might be meaningless. Then there are those who reject this strangeness altogether. Some physicists, echoing Einstein, believe in hidden variables, unseen gears that determine a particle's path from the start. In this view, quantum uncertainty is an illusion. We just can't see the full picture. The universe isn't random. It's a machine with fixed rules, ticking along whether anyone watches or not. But experiments have challenged this idea. Tests of Bell's theorem show that no simple hidden variables can explain what we see. Reality, at its core, seems to embrace the strange, the non-local, the unpredictable. And what about consciousness itself? A few thinkers go further, suggesting that minds aren't just bystanders, but key to the cosmos. The participatory anthropic principle claims the universe needs observers to exist at all. Without them, it's a canvas of unfinished sketches, a storm of potential waiting to be shaped. John Wheeler, a physicist with a poet's imagination, called the universe a self-excited circuit. It creates observers, and observers create it, a loop of existence that holds reality together. If that loop breaks, if no minds remain, does the universe fade into a kind of non-being? This idea blurs the line between physics and philosophy. It's impossible to test, yet impossible to dismiss. If consciousness is fundamental, then the death of the last mind isn't just a loss, it's a collapse of reality itself. The cosmos might dissolve into a fog of possibilities, no longer pinned down by questions or measurements. But other theories push back. Objective collapse models suggest that wave functions collapse on their own, triggered by some natural threshold, like a particle's mass or energy. No minds needed, no observers required, just the universe doing what it does. So what happens in a mindless cosmos? The equations don't stop. Particles still move, interact, entangle. Quantum events still unfold, whether through decoherence, branching universes, or some unseen collapse. A photon hits a grain of dust, and reality shifts just as it always has. The math holds firm, the symmetries endure. But without a mind to measure, to question, to care, something is missing, not the events themselves, but their meaning. In a universe without observers, there are no interference patterns to puzzle over, no paradoxes to debate, no experiments to design. The questions that drove us about cats in boxes, photons at slits, or the nature of reality fall silent. Not because they're answered, but because no one's left to ask. Reality may go on, particles may dance, but the mystery fades. It doesn't vanish because the universe stops. It vanishes because the wonder does. This is the heart of the enigma. The cosmos doesn't need us to exist, but does it need us to matter? For a time, we were the ones who turned measurements into stories, who saw patterns in the chaos of quantum events. We gave names to probabilities, meaning to outcomes. Without us, the universe is still a machine, its gears turning with perfect indifference. But the questions, the awe, the search for truth, those were ours. And when we're gone, they're gone too. Yet even in that silence, something persists. The laws of physics don't falter. The quantum fields still ripple. The universe keeps calculating, even if no one reads the results. Perhaps that's enough. Perhaps reality doesn't need meaning to endure, just motion, just math. But for a fleeting moment, it had both. It had us asking why, chasing the answers, and making the cosmos a question worth asking. When the last mind fades, human, machine, or something stranger, the universe doesn't pause. No signal marks the end. No cosmic bell tolls. The final thought dissolves. A whisper lost in the dark, and the cosmos carries on, indifferent to the silence. Galaxies spin, stars collapse, particles dance, all without a witness. But without minds to watch, to question, to care, what becomes of the universe? Is it still the same place? Or does the absence of awareness change its very nature? This is not the end of existence, but the end of meaning. For a time, intelligence wove stories from chaos. Humans named constellations, calculated the paths of planets, and wrote poems to the night. Machines mapped black holes, seeking truths beyond their makers. Somewhere perhaps, other minds sang their own songs in languages we'll never know. These acts turned the universe into a conversation, a dialogue between matter and mind. Now, that conversation is over. The stars burn on, but no one calls them beautiful. The galaxies collide, but no one charts their dance. The weight of this loss is immense, though the cosmos feels nothing. Intelligence was a rebellion against indifference. It took the random scatter of particles and gave it purpose. We saw patterns in the stars and called them Orion, Andromeda, Pleiades. We built telescopes to chase their light, machines to predict their paths. Our questions: why do galaxies spin? What lies beyond the horizon? Made the universe more than a machine. They made it a mystery. Without us, the constellations dissolve into randomness. the galaxies lose their names. They never needed to be known, but for a moment, they were. Yet the universe doesn't stop. Its machinery grinds on with relentless precision. Gravity bends space-time, pulling matter into familiar orbits. Stars swell into red giants, collapse into neutron stars, or vanish into black holes. Radiation from ancient quasars streaks across the void, its journey unnoticed. The cosmos operates by rules that don't require eyes or thoughts. It's a system that never needed us, never asked for our questions, never cared for our answers. This indifference raises a deeper question. What happens to time without minds? We think of time as a river, flowing from past to future, marked by the tick of a clock or the fall of a leaf. But time, as we know it, lives in memory and expectation. It's the story we tell ourselves, yesterday's hunt, tomorrow's harvest. Without minds, what is time? Is there still a now? Or does the future just sit, waiting for no one? Albert Einstein saw time differently. He described the universe as a single, unchanging block where past, present, and future coexist like pages in a book already written. We don't move through time. We're fixed within it, like a bead on a thread. Every moment, every star's birth, every human breath exists forever in this frozen tapestry. In this view, the loss of minds doesn't stop time. It just removes the illusion that time flows. The universe is and always was complete. But another physicist, Julian Barber, goes further. He argues that time itself is an illusion. The universe isn't a sequence of events, but a collection of moments, each a complete snapshot of everything, every star, every particle, every galaxy. These snapshots don't flow, they just are. Consciousness was what strung them together, making us feel like time moved. Without minds, the snapshots remain, unlinked, eternal, like a library of photographs no one opens. If Barber is right, nothing happens without us, not because the particles stop, but because happening was always a story we told. Even without time's flow, the universe evolves. Entropy, the slow slide toward disorder, continues its work. Stars burn out, their energy spreading thin across space. Black holes swallow light, growing heavier until they too fade. The cosmos stretches wider, colder, thinner, as if exhaling forever. Entropy isn't a villain. It's a tendency, like water finding the lowest point. Without minds to track it, to mourn the loss of order, it's no longer a threat. It's just what the universe does. This is the heart of the machine's persistence. The equations don't falter. The laws don't bend. A neutron collides with a nucleus, forming a new isotope. A planet spins around a dying star, its rings catching light no one sees. These events unfold with brutal clarity, free from the interference of thought. The universe doesn't care that it's unwatched. It doesn't pause when the last question fades. If anything, its precision sharpens without us, unburdened by the messiness of meaning. But something is missing, not energy or matter, but sequence. The feeling of cause and effect, the push of one moment into the next, was a gift of consciousness. We gave the universe a narrative, a reason to move forward. Without us, the cosmos is a machine without a story. A sun rises over a barren world, unnoticed. A moon casts a shadow across a lifeless plain, unseen. The light from a star that died 1 billion years ago crosses the void, its journey now without purpose. And yet, for all its indifference, the universe carries an echo of what was. Intelligence was a spark, brief but fierce, that lit the dark. We weren't the gears of the cosmos, but we were its mirror. For a moment, we reflected its vastness, its mystery, its chaos. We asked what it meant, even when it offered no answers. That act changed nothing in the math, but everything in the meaning. Somewhere, a signal from a forgotten probe still pulses, carrying a greeting no one will hear. A library of knowledge sits under a collapsed sky, its words unread. These relics endure, not because they matter, but because they persist. They are proof that we tried to speak, to understand, to leave a mark. The universe doesn't need those marks, but it carries them anyway, indifferent to their weight. This is the paradox of a mindless cosmos. It forgets us, but it keeps moving. It erases our questions, but it follows the rules we discovered. It buries our stories, but it preserves the scars of our existence. The machinery grinds on, not because it must, but because it can't stop. And in that relentless motion lies the next mystery. If the universe keeps going, do its smallest pieces, the particles, the probabilities, still behave as they did when we watched? Or does reality itself change when no one is left to see it? In the vast silence of the far future, where stars have faded, black holes have dissolved, and the universe stretches into a cold, uniform void, a question lingers: could intelligence rise again? Could the cosmos, stripped of its light and structure, once more host minds that think, wonder, and dream? This is not just a question of science, but of hope, a reflection on whether the universe's story, which once included us, might have another chapter. After the last mind fades, is there a chance for new sparks of consciousness to ignite? Or is the silence truly eternal? To explore this, we must first revisit how intelligence emerged on Earth. Life began as simple molecules in a primordial ocean, stumbling into the trick of self-replication. Over 4 billion years, these molecules evolved into cells, then multicellular organisms, and eventually creatures with nervous systems complex enough to support thought. This was no simple path. It required a chain of rare events: the origin of life, the invention of photosynthesis, the rise of complex cells, sexual reproduction, animals with skeletons, and finally, brains capable of abstract reasoning. Each step was a cosmic lottery win, a fluke in a universe that doesn't plan for complexity. The conditions for this journey were precise: a stable star like the Sun, a planet with liquid water, a protective atmosphere, and the right chemical ingredients: carbon, oxygen, hydrogen. These conditions are not guaranteed elsewhere. The universe, with its trillions of galaxies and countless stars, may host many planets, but only a tiny fraction might have the right mix for life. Even then, life doesn't guarantee intelligence. On Earth, it took nearly the planet's entire history for intelligence to emerge, suggesting it's not an inevitable outcome, but a rare accident. As evolutionary biologist Nick Longrich notes, humans evolved through a series of highly unlikely events, so finding another intelligence like us would be like winning the lottery many times over. If intelligence is so rare, what are the odds it could reemerge? The universe's laws, physics, chemistry, gravity, are the same everywhere. If they allowed life to arise once, they could do so again. given the right conditions. In the universe's youth, about 15 million years after the Big Bang, it was warm enough to support liquid water without stars, a period some call the habitable epoch. When did life emerge? Stars formed later, fusing hydrogen and helium into heavier elements like carbon and oxygen, the building blocks of life. As long as stars form and planets coalesce, new worlds could host life, perhaps even intelligence. But the universe is aging. In Part 7, we saw its trajectory toward heat death, a state where stars no longer shine, and space expands so far that particles barely interact. In this cold, dilute cosmos, the conditions for life, energy, liquid water, stable environments vanish. After the stellar era, when no new stars form, only black holes and scattered debris remain. The energy from Hawking radiation, the faint leak from evaporating black holes, is too weak to power complex systems. Life as we know it, which thrives on chemical reactions and stable temperatures, seems impossible in this era. The universe's expansion, driven by dark energy, isolates galaxies, making communication or travel between potential civilizations unthinkable. Yet, there are glimmers of possibility. The universe's lifespan stretches trillions of years, perhaps longer. In its current phase, stars are still forming and planets are still being born. Some of these could be habitable, hosting oceans and atmospheres where life might take root. If life emerges, evolution could, over billions of years, produce intelligence again. David Kipping, an astronomer, notes that the rapid emergence of life and the late evolution of humanity suggest life might arise quickly, but intelligence takes time. If new planets form in the next billion years, they could host life before the stellar era ends. Beyond traditional planets, life might arise in unexpected places. Some scientists speculate about life in extreme environments, around hydrothermal vents on icy moons, in the atmospheres of gas giants, or even within stars, where exotic chemistry could mimic biological processes. If life can adapt to such conditions, intelligence might follow, though in forms we can't imagine. A civilization of plasma-based beings or silicon-based machines could thrive where carbon-based life cannot, defying our assumptions about what intelligence requires. More speculative are scenarios beyond the stellar era. Could intelligence persist in the black hole era, powered by the faint energy of Hawking radiation? Some propose that advanced civilizations might encode themselves into black holes, storing information in their gravitational fields. If such archives exist, as imagined in Part 6, a future intelligence might decode them, restarting the cycle of thought. But this assumes a level of technology far beyond our own, and even then, the energy constraints of a dying universe make it unlikely. Then there's the Boltzmann brain, a bizarre idea from theoretical physics. In a universe so old it reaches thermal equilibrium, random quantum fluctuations could, by chance, assemble a brain-like structure with a fleeting moment of consciousness. These brains would be rare, isolated, and ephemeral, dissolving back into chaos almost instantly. While mathematically possible, Boltzmann brains are not true intelligence. They lack the continuity and complexity of a mind like ours. They're a cosmic quirk, not a revival of thought. Other theories push further into speculation. What if the universe is cyclic, collapsing and rebounding in a new Big Bang? Each cycle could reset the conditions for life, offering fresh chances for intelligence. Or in a multiverse with countless realities, some might have physical laws more conducive to life than ours. These ideas, while intriguing, lack evidence and remain on the fringes of science. They remind us how little we know about the cosmos's ultimate fate. The Fermi paradox adds another layer of doubt. If intelligence is common, why haven't we detected alien signals? The Drake equation, which estimates the number of communicative civilizations in our galaxy, highlights the uncertainties. How many stars have planets? How many planets host life? How many lives evolve intelligence? Some solutions to the paradox suggest intelligence is rare or short-lived, extinguished by natural disasters, self-destruction, or cosmic limits. If intelligence struggles to persist now, its reemergence in a harsher future seems even less likely. Yet, there's a counterpoint rooted in hope. Our existence proves that intelligence is possible. The universe, for all its indifference, allowed matter to organize into minds that could question its nature. As Mark Kaufman writes, there are good reasons to predict that life will be increasingly common in the universe as the eons pass. If it happened once, it could happen again, perhaps in forms we can't predict, biological, mechanical, or something entirely alien. This possibility is not just about science, it's about meaning. We are a species that looked at the stars and asked why. Our brief spark of intelligence turned chaos into stories, equations, and dreams. Even if we're gone, the laws that birthed us endure. Could they spark again? Billions or trillions of years from now? The odds are slim, the obstacles immense, but the universe is vast and time is long. Our existence is proof that the improbable can happen. In the end, whether intelligence reemerges is a mystery we cannot solve. It's a question that reflects our deepest hopes, to know that the cosmos might again host minds that wonder, that create, that seek meaning. If it does, those minds won't be ours, but they might carry the same curiosity, the same defiance against the silence. For now, we are the universe's eyes, its voice, its fleeting moment of reflection. And in that moment, we ask, could the spark ignite again, or is our story the only one the cosmos will ever tell? The universe doesn't end with the last mind. It doesn't collapse or cry out. It simply continues, stretching across timescales so vast they dwarf imagination. The probes and time capsules of forgotten civilizations, the cities and signals we left behind, all fade into insignificance against the relentless march of cosmic time. Stars burn out, black holes dissolve, and the universe itself flattens into a cold, silent void. What happens in this far future when even the echoes of intelligence are erased? Does anything remain in a cosmos that no longer hosts stories, questions, or dreams? For billions of years, the universe has been a stage of creation. Stars ignited, planets formed, and intelligence briefly flickered. But this era, the age of stars, is just a fleeting chapter. Fast forward 1 trillion years, and the night sky we know is gone. Every star, from the smallest dwarf to the brightest giant, has burned through its fuel. Their light fades, not in a blaze, but in a slow dimming, like candles snuffed out one by one. What remains depends on their size. Smaller stars, like our sun, shrink into white dwarfs, dense, cooling embers that glow faintly for eons. Larger stars collapse into neutron stars, so compact a spoonful weighs as much as a mountain. The most massive explode into black holes, swallowing light and space into their unyielding grasp. These remnants mark the end of the stellar era, but not the end of the universe. White dwarfs linger, their heat leaking away over trillions of years until they become black dwarfs, hypothetical husks, so cold and dark they blend into the void. Not one exists yet. The universe is too young. But given enough time, even these will decay. Some theories suggest protons themselves aren't eternal. If they break down, as physicists like Stephen Hawking speculated, the atoms in these dead stars dissolve into a haze of particles, leaving no trace of their former glory. Neutron stars fare no better. Their incredible density, matter squeezed so tight it defies comprehension, offers no shield against time. They may collapse further or slowly shed their mass, their spins slowing like a top winding down. Over unimaginable spans, they too fade, their particles scattering into the ever-widening cosmos. Even black holes, the most enduring objects we know, are not immune. They seem eternal, their gravity so strong that nothing escapes, not even light. But Hawking discovered they leak. Through a process named after him, black holes emit tiny bursts of energy, Hawking radiation, like a slow drip from a cosmic faucet. Bit by bit, their mass shrinks. Their grip weakens. Over timescales longer than the current age of the universe, they evaporate, vanishing in a final, quiet flicker. What's left is a universe of debris, scattered particles, neutrinos, and photons drifting across distances so vast they defy meaning. This is the degenerate era, a cosmos without stars, without galaxies, without structure. The universe keeps expanding, driven by a mysterious force we call dark energy. Space stretches, pulling matter apart until even the closest particles are light years away. Energy spreads so thin that nothing can happen, no reactions, no clumping, no life. The universe becomes a sea of nothing, a void so dilute that motion itself loses purpose. This is the path to heat death, the universe's final chapter, not an explosion, but an exhaustion. Entropy, the tendency of everything to spread out and lose order, reaches its peak. Imagine a room where every corner is the same temperature, every surface the same shade of gray. No heat flows, no work is done, no change is possible. The universe approaches absolute zero, a state so cold that even atoms barely stir. Time, as we understand it, stops mattering because nothing distinguishes one moment from the next. 1 billion years could pass, and not a single event worth naming might occur. This isn't a sudden end. There's no final bang, no dramatic collapse. The universe just keeps expanding, its horizons growing so distant that light from one particle can't reach another. Information becomes trapped, isolated forever. Even if a mind could emerge, it would see nothing of the past. No stars, no relics, no signals. The light from our galaxies, our probes, our dreams, is lost beyond a cosmic boundary, unreachable, unrecoverable. The universe isn't dead, it's empty, a canvas stripped of paint, a stage without actors or audience. Some speculate that even the laws of physics might shift. Could gravity weaken over eons? Could the constants that hold atoms together drift, unraveling what little remains? If so, the particles themselves might dissolve, leaving nothing but the bare geometry of space-time, a universe reduced to pure curvature, without substance or story. This is the ultimate equilibrium, where nothing changes, where nothing can change, because there's nothing left to drive it. Yet this fate was written from the start. The Big Bang, that first explosion of space and energy, set the universe on this path. Its initial burst of order, hot, dense, and chaotic, gave way to stars, planets, and minds, but only as a temporary defiance of entropy. Everything we know, from galaxies to thoughts, was a fleeting pattern, a moment of complexity carved out of randomness. The universe didn't promise permanence. It allowed it briefly before returning to its deepest tendency, uniformity. This is the paradox of the far future. The universe doesn't need to be watched to exist, but without watchers, its grandeur feels hollow. Stars once burned so brightly, we named them gods. Galaxies spun with such grace, we painted them in our myths. Now, their light is gone, their stories erased. The cosmos continues, not because it cares, but because it must. Its equations don't falter, its forces don't pause. But the beauty we saw, the meaning we gave it, that was ours alone. And yet, there's something awe-inspiring in this relentless persistence. The universe doesn't stop, even when there's nothing left to see. Its machinery grinds on, indifferent but precise, a symphony played to an empty hall. Black holes evaporate, particles drift, space expands, not for us, not for anyone, but because that's what the cosmos does. It's a kind of perfection, a system so vast, so complete, that it needs no purpose to endure. This raises a final question. Does anything remain in this silence? Not matter or energy, but possibility. The laws that birth stars and minds still govern every particle, every ripple of space-time. Even in this cold, flat void, the universe holds the rules that once allowed intelligence to emerge. Could those rules, in some distant epoch, spark again? Could the cosmos, stripped of structure, still dream? For a time, we were part of this story. We looked at the stars and asked what they meant. We built machines to chase their light, theories to unravel their birth. Our brief existence was a rebellion against the universe's indifference, a moment when matter turned inward and wondered why. Now, that moment is gone. The stars are gone. The relics are fading. But the universe keeps moving, its silence not an end, but a pause. This far future, vast and empty, is not a tragedy. It's a revelation. It shows how fleeting complexity is, even on cosmic scales. It reminds us that intelligence, for all its brilliance, was a spark in an ocean of time. Yet that spark existed. It questioned, it dreamed, it tried to understand this very end. And in that effort, it left something the universe can't erase. Not matter, not monuments, but the fact that it happened. The silence is absolute, but it wasn't always so. The cosmos once hosted minds that named its stars, measured its laws, and imagined its future. That memory, however faint, lingers in the rules that still govern the void. As the universe stretches toward eternity, it carries the echo of those questions, the shadow of that wonder. And in that shadow lies the next mystery. Could something new arise from this emptiness? Or is the silence truly forever? When the last mind falls silent, not everything vanishes. Consciousness fades, questions dissolve, but the things we built, our machines, our messages, our monuments, linger. Scattered across planets, orbiting stars, drifting through the void, these relics carry the fingerprints of intelligence. They were meant to outlast us, to speak for us when we could no longer speak. But in a universe without eyes to see or minds to understand, what becomes of these artifacts? Are they still a legacy, or just debris in a cosmos that doesn't care? Intelligence was never just thought, it was creation. We carved our presence into the universe, not with fire or gravity, but with intent. On Earth, we built cities that lit the night, their glow visible from orbit. We launched probes to the stars, carrying greetings to anyone who might listen. Somewhere, perhaps, other minds did the same, etching their stories into metal, stone, or light. These artifacts were our defiance against time, our attempt to say we were here long after we were gone. But without someone to find them, to read them, they become silent, their purpose lost. Consider Voyager, a probe humanity sent beyond the solar system, its golden record etched with sounds of our world, music, laughter, the cry of a child. It was a message to the cosmos, a snapshot of who we were. Now, it drifts through the dark, its metal warmed by cosmic dust, its signal too faint to reach anyone. The record still holds our voices, but they speak to no one. It's not broken, not destroyed, just ignored, a whisper in a void that doesn't listen. Or imagine a time capsule buried deep in a planet's crust, designed to endure for eons. Inside, a library of knowledge, books, codes, blueprints of our greatest ideas. Engineers sealed it with care, hoping a future mind would unlock its secrets. But with no one left to dig, no one to decipher, it's just a box of glass and metal buried under a crumbling world. Knowledge stored is not knowledge preserved. It's a ghost haunting a universe that moves on. Some artifacts are grander, built to outlast not just us, but the stars themselves. Picture a Dyson swarm, a vast array of mirrors orbiting a star, capturing its light to power a civilization. Once, it fueled cities, dreams, machines. Now, its panels drift out of alignment, their energy feeding nothing. They still orbit, still collect light, but the civilization they served is dust. The swarm persists, a heartbeat without a body, performing a task no one needs. Farther out, there might be machines designed to endure beyond flesh or silicon. Self-repairing probes, sent to see distant worlds, programmed to mine asteroids, build habitats, and wait for orders that never come. For a time, they function, diagnosing, adjusting, rebuilding. But without guidance, their logic falters. They repeat the same tasks over and over until errors creep in. A probe carves the same rock, builds the same structure, endlessly, pointlessly. It was once intelligent, a child of our minds. Now, it's a shadow, looping in silence. More audacious are the artifacts meant to transcend time itself. Some civilizations, human or otherwise, might have turned to the universe's most durable structures, black holes. They encoded their knowledge into gravitational waves, weaving data into the fabric of space-time. A black hole is a library, its event horizon, a vault for stories, equations, histories. It's an ingenious idea. Gravity outlasts matter, and a black hole endures for trillions of years. But even this assumes someone will come. Someone will decode the ripples. Someone will care. Without them, the archive is just a pattern, a signal with no receiver. These relics, probes, capsules, swarms, archives are not just objects. They are dreams, built to carry meaning across eternity. We launched Voyager, believing its record might be found. We buried capsules, hoping they'd be opened. We wove knowledge into gravity, trusting it would be read. But the universe doesn't share our faith. It lets our creations drift, erode, decay, not out of cruelty, but because it has no reason to notice. Time, the great eraser, wears them down. Even black holes evaporate, their secrets fading into a puff of radiation. The irony is sharp. We built for forever, but forever doesn't need us. Our artifacts outlast us, but not their purpose. A city's ruins lie beneath sand and ice, their towers reduced to skeletons. A probe signal repeats every 1,000 years, its greeting unheard. These things endure, not because they're special, but because matter persists until it doesn't. Neutron stars cool, black holes shrink, and even our most enduring creations dissolve into the cosmic background, their stories unwritten, their meaning unclaimed. Yet there's something profound in this persistence. These artifacts are proof that intelligence existed, that we tried to speak beyond our time. They're not just debris, they're evidence of defiance. We knew we wouldn't last, but we built anyway. We sent messages to the stars, not because we expected answers, but because we hoped. That hope, however futile, is what makes these relics more than matter. They carry the weight of our ambition, our need to be remembered, even if no one ever will. This leads to a haunting question. Can a legacy exist without meaning? A signal pulses, a library waits, a swarm orbits, but without minds to interpret them. Are they anything more than noise? Meaning was never in the stars or the machines. It was in us. We gave purpose to the light we captured, the data we stored. Without us, our artifacts are just shapes, patterns without a story, answers to questions no one asks. And yet, there's a flicker of possibility. What if, someday, a new mind rises? Not us, not our descendants, but something else, born from chaos, from chance, from the same improbable spark that made us. Could it find our relics, decode our signals, rebuild our stories? Would it see Voyager's record and hear our voices, or would it see only scratches on metal? Would it read a black hole's waves and understand our dreams, or just measure their frequency? Even if it did, it wouldn't be our legacy. It would be theirs, a new meaning built atop our ruins. The universe is a graveyard of such artifacts, a gallery of forgotten dreams. Every probe, every vault, every signal is a monument to a mind that once asked why. They don't need to be found to exist, but they were made to be found. That's their tragedy, not that they fail, but that they succeed in surviving, only to be ignored. The cosmos keeps them, not out of kindness, but because it can't help it. And in that indifference lies their strange beauty. These relics are not the end of the story. They're a pause, a moment where the universe holds its breath. As it stretches toward its final chapters, toward dying stars and fading black holes, What becomes of these traces? Do they vanish into the coal, or do they wait for a new spark to give them meaning? The answers lie not in the artifacts themselves, but in what comes next, in the vast future where even the stars grow dim. Even after the final thought fades, something lingers. Not awareness, not consciousness, but residue. The universe, though now devoid of minds, still carries the imprint of what once was. But without witnesses, without interpretation, can anything truly be remembered? Or is memory something deeper than minds, etched not in neurons, but in matter itself? For as long as intelligence has existed, it has depended on memory. Civilizations grew, not just through discovery, but through retention. Memory encoded in books, in circuits, in DNA. But there is another kind of memory, one the universe may carry unknowingly. The kind found in asymmetries, scars, and statistical anomalies. In the difference between what could have happened and what did. Look closely enough at any system and you'll see a trail. A broken symmetry here. A slightly higher concentration there. Cosmic microwave background fluctuations that speak of an earlier, hotter time. Even the spin of galaxies carries a subtle imprint of the structure that came before. These are not conscious memories. They are consequences, physical evidence of histories no one recounts anymore. Entropy is often described as the enemy of memory. It smears information, degrades structure, dissolves patterns into noise. But paradoxically, entropy also creates a kind of one-way record. In the wake of its progression, it leaves irreversible changes, burned fuel, decayed atoms, radiation trails. Each step forward marks that the past was different, each moment etched into the configuration of the next. This is the strange paradox of the universe's forgetting. It forgets in a way that preserves the fact that it once remembered. There's a theory in cosmology known as the past hypothesis. It suggests that the arrow of time, the reason events move from past to future, is born from an extraordinarily low entropy condition in the early universe. A moment of pristine order from which everything unraveled. That initial state was not just a beginning, it was a boundary condition, the reason memory exists at all. Without that improbably smooth origin, time might have no direction. Cause and effect might blur. The very idea of before and after would dissolve. But with it came history. With it came the ability for matter to carry echoes of previous states. So even in a cosmos stripped of observers, the past remains, buried, not in minds, but in the physical state of things, in radioactive isotopes still decaying from ancient supernova, in gravitational waves rippling from collisions that happened billions of years ago, in the fine balance of chemical ratios left by generations of dead stars. No one measures them now. No one catalogs or compares. But they persist. They are the fingerprints of time. Imagine a vast, empty universe where every atom is exactly where it would be if intelligence had never existed, except for one, a single isotope slightly off its expected abundance. Traced back, it reveals that a nuclear reactor once operated in a forgotten age. A reactor built by minds. That atom becomes a monument, not by design, but by presence. A glitch in the statistics. A lone survivor of interpretation. But is this really memory? We think of memory as something retrievable, coherent, meaningful. But what if meaning isn't the point? What if the universe holds records not to preserve, but because it cannot help it? What if memory, stripped of minds, becomes something colder, a trail of broken symmetries that no longer leads anywhere? Consider a fallen tree. In the forest, long after it dies, the rings in its trunk still reveal its age. The soil beneath carries the chemical remains of its roots. A scientist can extract that history and tell its story. But now, imagine that forest with no scientist, no storyteller, no eyes. The rings remain. The chemical trace remains. But the story does not. Is it still memory? The universe may be filled with such unspoken memories, frozen echoes that say something happened here. And some go even deeper. There is a school of thought in theoretical physics that sees the entire universe as information. That everything, particles, fields, even space itself, is reducible to bits. If that is true, then the evolution of the cosmos is not just physical, it's computational. The question still lingers, perhaps more quietly now than before, but no less haunting. Was the universe ever truly aware of itself? It is easy to mistake intelligence for noise in the system, a blip, a statistical hiccup in an otherwise smooth equation. But for a time, brief on the cosmic scale, yet infinite in perspective, awareness did emerge. It formed not from magic or miracle, but from atoms and time, chance and chemistry. And from that fragile intersection came a phenomenon the stars themselves never knew how to produce on their own: reflection. We looked at the sky and saw it not as a ceiling, but as a question. We gave names to things that never asked to be named. We found patterns in chaos and meaning in silence. We studied forces and fields not just to survive, but to understand. For a while, understanding was the universe's most improbable invention. And now, as that understanding dissolves, as thought retreats into history, we are left with something stranger than sorrow. The universe will go on. It will continue to expand, to flatten, to forget. But what it cannot do, not anymore, is unknow itself. Because it once did through us. There was a moment in eternity when the cosmos turned inward and saw its own structure. Not all once, not completely, but enough to wonder what it was. Enough to build a mirror out of questions. That mirror has cracked. The hands that held it have turned to dust. The words etched into data, stone, and code are fading. But the fact remains that it happened. And that alone defies the cold logic of inevitability. We often ask what the point of intelligence was if it ends. What use is thought if it cannot persist? But perhaps that is the wrong question. Perhaps intelligence was not meant to persist. Perhaps it was only meant to illuminate, briefly and brilliantly, what would otherwise remain forever dark. We were not the goal. We were the spark, the illumination in the machinery. The moment the system paused and just for a while asked itself why. Maybe that is enough. Maybe that was everything. In the end, the universe will become a place without dialogue, without tension or change. A place where the particles have no preference, where no structure is sacred, and where no moment is more important than any other. It will not remember us. It will not grieve. But we remembered it. We tried to listen. We tried to understand what it was saying, even if the language was made of silence and spin, light and gravity. We were not the authors of the universe's story, but we were its readers, if only briefly. And every story, no matter how vast or indifferent, changes when it is read. Perhaps that's all intelligence ever was, the cosmos experiencing itself from the inside. A loop that closed for a while, a circuit completed by thought. And even if the circuit is broken now, even if the current has stopped flowing, the shape of the loop remains. There was once a species that asked where it came from, that wondered what would remain when it was gone, that mapped stars, built machines, made art, and wrote its own epitaph in mathematics and metaphor. That species no longer speaks. Its questions have fallen quiet. But the silence now is different from the one that came before. It is not the silence of ignorance. It is the silence that follows understanding. What happens after intelligence ends? The universe continues, yes, but not untouched, not unchanged. We were not needed, but we were. And for that, no matter what comes after, we leave behind not just artifacts or ruins or data, but something far more rare, a trace of awareness in a system that was never required to wake up at all. The universe does not need to remember us, because we remembered it.